After resupplying and resting at the Palmer River Roadhouse, it was time to head north and start our journey towards Pajinka, the northernmost point of the Australian mainland. So we decided to take it easy on ourselves and head to Cowan for the night before heading up to Bramwell Junction to start the Old Telegraph Track. Cowan is a great little town. The food, the people and the beer were all very welcome sights. This was our last chance at grabbing some supplies before heading further north into the Great Northern Abyss. It takes about 4.5 hours drive from Palmer River Roadhouse to Cowan, and then another 3 hours from there to Bramwell Junction. Well guys, we're on the PDR heading north to Bramwell Junction, and what you'll find as a feature on this road is lots of sealed sections, but lots of nasty unsealed sections with heavy corrugations, rattling all the parts free on your car. It's horrible. Now what I've had to do in the past to adjust the shocks is get out of the vehicle, get underneath it and turn those shocks to a softer position. But now in the Black Knight I've got the new Superior Engineering electric shocks. All I have to do is reach over here to the cab and wind these down to 0. As you can see there, I've got a control. Bam, she's down. Let's see how they look. And that makes a massive difference to me. I can adjust these on the fly. It's an absolute game changer, and I wouldn't have any other shock. After turning off the PDR onto Telegraph Road, Bramwell Junction is the next stop for us. We'll definitely need a break before starting the OTT. Bramwell Junction is a very important milestone on any Cape York adventure. You either put your big boy pants on and hit the Old Telegraph Track, or you go the easy way, up the Northern Bypass Road. It wasn't up for debate which way we were going, definitely the hard way, but we're going to take our time and not take any stupid risks. After a good few hours on the PDR, your throat is going to be fairly dusty, and when you see Bramwell Junction, you'll be very happy to know that it has everything you need to survive. But a hot tip, they don't let you do takeaway alcohol, so make sure you stock up beforehand. And diesel ain't cheap either, but hey, where is it lately? So after travelling further north on our journey, we've arrived at the famous Old Telegraph Track. This is a four-wheel driver's paradise, and it's a rite of passage for any serious four-wheel driver who wants to make it to the tip. So the Old Telegraph Track was first built in 1885 as a means for the workmen to service the lines all the way to the tip. It was decommissioned in 1987 when the Peninsula Development Road was created. And today, it provides a great opportunity for four-wheel drivers to have a fun, exciting and challenging trip to the tip. After a good feed, we were ready to get started on the Old Telegraph Track, and we were pumped to get some runs on the board before sunset. We set off from Bramwell Junction about 2 p.m, and we didn't know how far we'd get, but we definitely knew that we're going to have to camp on the track tonight and probably tomorrow night too. The first river crossing we came to was Palm Creek, and I was hoping there'd be an easier way to get through it, but after a thorough look, this was our best option.
I didn't sign on for this shit, man.
Alright, so we're about to do the first river crossing here. This is Palm Creek. It's got a steep descent into it, left-hand turn into the creek. Got to go down the creek a little bit. There's not much water in it because it's the end of the season, but we think we've got it covered. Here goes.
Around.
Yeah, I was going to hold a flat there.
Yeah.
Would I be right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just trying to get it straight, Brad.
Yeah, need a bit more turn.
Yeah.
A bit more circle.
Yeah, a bit more circles. Let me clutch out.
Just let it do the work.
Yeah, gotcha.
The fraction of left hand. Yep, bring it forward.
The descent into Palm Creek is a little bit sketchy, but we had no problems making our way through. Checking the line is an absolute must. One can't get lazy or complacent here, or this track will literally bite you on the ass. We could tell we'd definitely come at the end of the season, as the track was very carved out. There was plenty of mud, of course, but hey, that's why we come here, right?
So as you can see, it was a bit of a steep descent in there, a bit of a left-hand turn. The Maxxis Trepidor tyres come into their own in this mud, so it's great to have that traction to get out and get on our way. So brilliant driving there by the lads.
We've been very lucky not to have the rain set in. The track was very slippery even without it. I can't imagine how this place would look in the actual wet season. After cruising through Palm Creek, we continued north. We wanted to get as much of the track done before we lost the sunlight. The next river crossing was Juicy, which was an absolute breeze. The OTT thus far has been all but deserted. Coming in the off-season definitely has its pros. Less pressure means more time to think things through, which ultimately led to a much less riskier experience and more fun for us.
So the great thing about the Old Tele Track is there's usually a couple of track options to take around a difficult area. So you can go through a difficult track, or you can take the clever track, which is for a less capable vehicle such as Torpedo compared to the Black Knight, which is coiled.
After making our way past Alice Creek, we were starting to get pretty hangry and tired, so we decided to make camp on the side of the track and put ourselves in a good position to start the track nice and fresh tomorrow.
So here we are on the Old Telegraph track, day 2. Yesterday we started quite late in the afternoon, so we only just got past Palm Creek. So we got a nice little campsite here, decided to rest, and today we are super keen to hit day 2.
After leaving our campsite just north of Alice Creek, we progressed further north to see what the OTT had in store for us today. We actually had no idea how far we would get, but we knew we were in for a big one.
Tele track, you sort of get a little bit of a break between obstacles, which is pretty cool. So
Yeah. But it's nice, it's a beautiful track too, even just to look at.
yeah,
I've been watching people drive this track for most of your adult life. How do you feel being here now?
man, it is epic. I think it's on definitely on everyone's bucket list, and if it's not, get it on there. Yeah, I really couldn't think of any other where I'd rather be right now, man. It's unreal to have the opportunity to do something like this. So
It's an amazing place, isn't it?
yeah, yep. Like I say, I think it's when anyone buys a four-wheel drive, I think it's on everyone's bucket list to get up here and conquer the Tele Track. So
Yeah, definitely.
to be able to do it late in the season, we haven't had many people around, which is just about had the place to ourselves. So it's been unreal.
So we're just poking down the track on day 2, and because it's the morning time, the shadows are long, and it takes a second look, a lot of these mogully areas, because the shadows make it a little bit confusing to see how deep it is. So going slow is key. So far we've had almost zero company since we started on the OCR, so we were hoping this would continue and we'd have a nice clear run. So one of the great things we've found about coming up here in the off-season, October, is that there's far less people around, and therefore when you're running down these narrow tracks you don't have to pull off. I mean, this is super hectic if you'd had to pull over and let another vehicle pass. So we've basically got the place to ourselves, which is awesome. The Old Tele Track takes a nice straight trajectory north to the tip. While it looks pretty straightforward on the map, anyone who knows the OTT knows it's OTT. So you have to keep your eyes peeled and be very patient. So one of the features of the southern end of the Old Telegraph track is long sections of straight track to the next river crossing or next main obstacle. What you'll find on those little tracks is that they're not that easy either. A lot of them are off camber. So what I'm finding really helpful in these situations is the Maxxis Trepidors, which has an aggressive sidewall for grip. Comes in really handy on these tracks. I really can't stress how important it is to get out of the vehicle and take a closer look at the track. Things look different from inside the cab. Might seem a little bit gnarly or risky, but you get out there, you look at your lines and you get a different take on things and you feel far more confident sending it on through.
The climate in this part of Australia is constantly changing. It has a wet season and a dry season. I remember coming through here a few years ago and the water was up quite a bit higher. We came through there and boosted out over that way. But this year, quite a bit lower, which is fine by me, less risk.
As Delahunty River came up on us, we were feeling fresh, so we made light work of our first obstacle. We were keen to make a strong start in the morning. We actually couldn't have asked for better conditions today. Although it was hot and humid, it was also nice and cool and tropical with all the water and the forest canopies giving us lovely shade. Definitely nicer than the arid conditions we experienced on the OCR. It was also comforting to know we weren't so far away from help and towing services if we needed it. There are access roads in and out of the OTT, and there's also evidence everywhere that other expeditions have come into some serious trouble. It wasn't too long and we'd come up to Birdie Creek. Birdie Creek was nice and low, so we knew we had this one covered easy. The entrance and exits are offset, and the point of crossing changes every season. As usual, we took our time and there were no issues encountered. Since the beginning of this journey, and even in preparation for it, I've had a thought in the back of my head. What am I going to do when I get to Gunshot Creek? Last time I was there was a chicken track, or what I like to call a clever man's track, to get around any danger. We'll definitely take that option if it's available. There's no point jeopardising the vehicles or our safety. Once we arrived at Gunshot, it was the middle of the day, so the sun was blazing down on us, but we knew we needed to do a thorough recon and check all the options and hazards. So we decided to go for a thorough walk around the area and select the route that we thought was going to cause the least amount of damage to our vehicles if something were to go wrong. Ultimately, we employed the old measure twice, cut once approach. At the end of the season, this place is carved out big time, and you can see everywhere the evidence of fun 4x4 adventure that has been had here. This year our goal was to have as little impact on our surroundings and our vehicles. Fingers were crossed. The hardcore entrance of Gunshot, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, was way too hectic and would definitely have caused damage to our vehicles, so that wasn't an option. So if there's one creek crossing on the Old Telegraph track which will strike fear into the heart of any experienced four-wheel driver, it's Gunshot. This track has a reputation that precedes itself. We've all seen the images on Instagram and YouTube of vehicles just sending it over here in a Hail Mary fashion and slamming it into the bottom there, bringing in on any sort of vehicular damage or whatnot. Sure, it's great to say you've done it, but there are other options around here. In fact, there's about 6 other options. Now, when we rocked up here, we took a good walk around the area and we've chosen what we think is the least stupid track. Unfortunately for us, the clever track we were looking for did not exist this year, and it was now a matter of finding the best bad option. We narrowed it down to 2 spots at the western end of the creek. We proceeded over to take a second look before the inevitable crossing occurred. We decided to take the line that gave the easiest entrance and exit line, as there was less chance of getting stuck that way or something bad happening to the vehicles. As usual, I was definitely going to take photos for this one. That meant Sam was going to have to drive both vehicles. As you could imagine, these times are pretty stressful for me, and I just need to trust in good planning and Sam's skills behind the wheel. After checking over everything twice and a third time, it was time to just send it.
So we've just measured the width of the vehicle using my scarf thing and also the width of this track down into Gunshot. We've got plenty of room width-wise. Certainly standing in the base of it, it was probably about this much mud. So I think we're going to spud it in to a degree, and we're going to have the winch ready, which Mitch has got there now. And then we'll take it to a tree over there if we need to.
Yeah, but
How does it compare to the left passenger side wheel there, Sam?
I mean, it's not going to, like,
It's not going to flip it. Nah, it's not going to have a nap. All right, after feeling quite convinced that this was the path for us through Gunshot, we've changed our minds. We've taken a look at the track over here. It's got far more width, and we think there'll be less chance of panel damage, and we can get out of here still okay. So we're gonna swap to that one. How you feeling, Sammy? You all right? You all set?
I think we're all set here.
Good man. All right, I'm gonna get you to slowly come up.
Success! The Black Knight was now safely through Gunshot Creek.
Great work, mate. Great work. Well, that's a massive relief to get the Black Knight over there. So, yeah, my heart's beating pretty fast, and yeah, it's great that I have drivers that I can trust, and all the good comms equipment. Thanks, GME. Couldn't have done it without this whole setup.
The Torpedo was next, and it's significantly heavier than the Black Knight, so I was a bit more nervous about getting that across. Plan A worked well, so we were just going to rinse and repeat and hope for the best. Mitch was riding shotgun, if you'll excuse the pun, and definitely learning from Sam's every move. Having done it once already, Sam was confident with his line and quick to deliver the desert night to the safety of Gunshot Creek.
Nice one, brother. That was good. Good work, Jimmy.
Mate, well done. You bossed that. That was awesome.
That was hectic.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Cheers, man.
very cool.
You know, just want to talk to you about a couple of things I noticed. What did you think of the turning circle up the top? We had a bit of a tight entrance to the track. You sure drove the 76 first and then the 78. What are your thoughts on the differences there?
Yeah, obviously the 76 with the short wheelbase, much easier to get in position.
Yeah.
The
Also a better turning circle in
Yeah.
the 76.
Exactly, yeah. That one took a little bit more to get in the spot, but
Yeah.
I think it was definitely worth doing that.
Yep, getting that spotting done right.
Yeah.
So basically one thing I also noticed is that in the troop carrier with the longer wheelbase, you were basically nearly in the water by the time the wheels were coming over the back, which was, you know, in the night it just seemed far more hectic and short. How did that feel for you?
Yeah, for sure. You nailed it. I think, yeah, obviously the long wheelbase, a bit heavier. Yeah, I had to let off the brakes to let it go, so it was
right.
Yeah, it was just holding.
Give her a bit of rain, mate.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Anyway, mate, well done. We've done Gunshot. Well, you've done Gunshot twice in 10 minutes. That's a brilliant effort there. So, yeah, thank you very much, mate. On to the next one.
So that is Gunshot done and dusted, and I can't say I'm more delighted than I am. I'm stoked. On to the next adventure.
After it was all said and done, we'd spent about 2 hours filming at Gunshot, so the afternoon was definitely catching up with us, and we still had to reach the northern section of the track yet. As the biggest and most notorious obstacle on the Old Telegraph track, it's easy to become hyper-focused on Gunshot. But don't worry, there's plenty of other obstacles there that'll trip you up, and again, bite your ass if you're not too careful. At this stage we still had Cockatoo Creek, Sheldon Lagoon and Sailor Creek crossing to contend with on the southern side of the track, and the entire northern side also remained. We decided we were just going to plough through until we either got too tired or the sun went down.
Probably in
So as you can imagine, we weren't going to count our chickens too early, but we were definitely glad that Gunshot was now behind us. It's amazing how quickly the landscape can change out here. One minute you're on red clay with dirt and tall trees, and the next second it's changed to bushes and sand. It's unreal. Once we arrived at Cockatoo Creek, we were pleased to see that it was nice and low, which made it easy to cross. It also provided a good place for us to cool down after Gunshot literally cooked our brains.
some of the major appeal of the Old Telegraph track is these creeks. I mean, look how beautiful this is around me. It's an oasis. It's so tropical and lovely. The water temperature here must be about 27, 28 degrees. So we might have a little paddle here before we move on, but we've found a little line through here anyway that we think shouldn't be too much drama. One thing I should mention is if you're faced with a creek like this, get out of the car, take a walk through it. If you can walk through it, you should be okay to drive through it as well. If you can't, then you probably won't be able to drive through it.
On this occasion, it was good to have a nice, easy one. We'll take them whenever we can get them. It got to the point for all of us where we were just trying to grind out the kilometres between these major obstacles. If we thought Cockatoo Creek was easy, that was nothing compared to Sheldon Lagoon. The water wasn't even covering the road, so we were able to cruise on by. Sailors Creek crossing was a bit more technical, but we had no issue getting through there either. The time of year was making for easier travelling for us. By the time we hit the northern bypass road, it was about 4:30 in the afternoon and Elliot Falls was beckoning. We decided to make Elliot Falls our camp for the night.
So on the northern end of the Old Tele Track, it unites with Bamaga Road, and when it does that, it is quite smooth and graded, really nice road to drive on. But then it diverts again and you'll see it turn off to Fruitbat Falls. We haven't taken that one. We're heading to Elliot Falls and we'll probably have a camp and a swim because I'm feeling pretty dusty and stinky.
Elliot Falls has excellent camping facilities and plenty of space in the off-season. More importantly, it has amazing waterfalls. After a big day in the northern Queensland sun, we definitely needed a full body cool down and to clean the dust out of a few of our nether regions. A great swim, some good food, some rest is what we all needed after an epic day at the Old Telegraph Track. It was so good to relax and recount the triumphs of the day and speculate on what might be ahead of us.
If you make it this far, you get a reward halfway. Elliot Falls. It'd be crazy not to come here for a swim. This water's like 26, 27 degrees. Beautiful, paradise on earth. Oh.
We hadn't had much downtime on the trip so far, so the next morning we took advantage of our beautiful location and eased into the day, getting ready slowly, but mostly chilling out. We all agreed that Elliot Falls was by far the nicest place we'd camped so far. We were in no rush to leave this morning, so we packed a lot of relaxing into just a few hours. Up until now, we hadn't seen a soul on either the OCR or the OTT, but we did come across some fellow travellers at the campsite. It's funny how on trips like these, one's always keen to see other humans and share stories of adventure in the 4x4 world.
He was a, you're not going to believe this, right? So we've had this, this dispute on this trip about where magpies in Australia are found. And we just happened to run into an ornithologist who settled that dispute.
And there's magpies up here, yeah?
There's magpies
Everywhere.
everywhere.
Yeah, thought so.
Case closed.
It was now 10 AM and time to hit the track. We made it our goal to get to the Jardine River ferry and reach Punsan Bay by nightfall, but we still had all the crossings on the northern section of the OTT to contend with. It was going to be tight. After 7 days of non-stop travelling and off-roading, our energy levels were becoming more difficult to manage. We were conscious not to get too hasty and make some stupid mistakes.
Started day 3 on the Old Tele Track and it feels good to be back behind the wheel.
Canal Creek was another easy crossing. I'm sure it isn't always that way, although we still managed to crash a 4-tonne Land Cruiser into a 1.5 kilogram drone and do no damage. The 4x4 gods were definitely smiling on us this day. Now some more Ks of what is synonymous with the OTT. Long straight sections with either red dirt or sand. Sam Creek was next on the agenda, and Sam was pretty happy with that. And on this occasion, he was going to drive the Black Knight and Mitch the Torpedo. So we used the same drivers as before. These are perfect locations for me to get photos for the gram. The step down into Sam Creek is pretty steep. The Black Knight has a 4-inch lift, so it cleared it no problems. The Torpedo, however, only has a 3-inch lift, and we scraped the rear bar on the entrance as a result.
Okay, so we just came across Sam's Crossing there, and it had quite a steep entrance into the creek bed. Okay, now the idea is to go over those as slow as you can, okay? Just so when the rear comes down, you're not going to crunch anything. In this case, we've got the Kmart rear bar, and it did take a little bit of a battering there. It just sort of went a little bit too fast, and the back end came down fast, so it squats on the suspension, which just bit into the banking. Put a little bit of a battle scar through here, but it's nothing too major, and hey, this is an awesome rear bar, so it can certainly take it.
This also marks the first time we've seen travellers on the track, any track for that matter, and we were on a mission and didn't have too much time for pleasantries. But as so often occurs in our travels, we'd run into them later on in our travels.
Alright, so obviously to make a trip like this possible and take both the Black Knight and the Desert Knight away on a trip like this, for me to do the photography and Dan to do the videography, it adds another level of complexity to the trip. Okay, so for me, you know, I have to let the lads do what they need to do, and I trust them to do what they're going to do, but you know, it's when things go awry in those situations, it's always a little bit meh, but hey, that's the risk we take, and that's the risk anyone takes with their own vehicle on these tracks. So always super important to take a look at the track before you go into it, use your spotters, and go slow on steep entrances like that one.
So Mitch, how do you feel about that little crossing at Sam's Creek there?
Not great, eh? I think I got off pretty light. New day, you know, been driving for a bit, well, a bit over a week now. It's getting a little bit overconfident. Maybe not overconfident's the word, but lacked a little bit of a warm-up and skipped a few of the essential steps of crossing an obstacle. So yeah, came into a blind obstacle, didn't take a look, didn't communicate properly with the boys, hit it way too hard, dropped down, little tail tap on the rear bar. Thankfully the Kmart bar is tough as.
Were you off the clutch the whole time through there?
I was off the clutch the whole time, and I guess, yeah. Again, with the warm-ups and all, like warming up on easier things, I think, you know, I might have driven it a bit better.
Yeah.
It was starting to look busy on the OTT. We saw our second sighting of humans, a motorbike touring squad. The good thing about them is they travel quick and they're easy to get around. We meandered our way through the labyrinth of Mistake Creek, which looked pretty messy, so we took our time and investigated all of the options.
So we're going to have to come down this one here, which is a little bit mogully at the top. Down here it's a little bit steep again, so on the brakes we learned our lesson at Sam's Crossing. I blame Sam. And then there's another little rocky drop off here. Might be a 3-point turn to get out that way, but yeah, I'd rather be coming down that than up it.
I just looked up the name, and I think this one's called Mistake Creek, so fingers crossed.
We've had our 3 mistakes this morning.
Fingers crossed there's no mistakeages.
Had our mistakes this morning. This is going to be smooth.
We got through another milestone unscathed, and each one of these makes my nervous heart travel a little lighter. At this stage we had 4 major crossings to go before finishing up the track, but 3 of these were rumoured to be the deepest and most difficult of all so far.
It's a Nissan. That is on the left side there, Sam.
It's a little bit deeper, isn't it?
First up was the ominously named Cannibal Creek, and this place looked amazing and treacherous at the same time. The water around here was absolutely unreal. This crossing is crazy how you have to double back on yourself, almost 180 degrees. It was great to have the place to ourselves again to do that. This one probably looks worse than it is. Sam had no issues getting through them. He just took his time.
Alright, so this creek is called the Cannibal. Don't let that fool you though, it's not so bad. It's a bit sketchy on the entrance there, but we think it's the most beautiful creek crossing on the OTT. Sam was driving both vehicles. Sam, feels on that one, thoughts on that one?
No, it was a good, cool drive. Yeah, with the Black Knight, we obviously picked a little bit of a different line, but when we brought the torpedo through, just readjusted a little bit, and yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, nice, mate. It looked pretty comfortable. I was a little bit worried because there's a ledge on the side of it over there that I thought, oh, we could get a little bit of roll into, but you kept it away. How much did you say, Mitch? About an inch, mate.
About an inch.
Bees mating appendage.
That's plenty when it comes to full driving.
Exactly, that's a mile, mate.
Yeah, exactly right.
Nice work, lads. All right, so I think Nolan's will be coming up pretty soon, so let's say we get behind the wheel and send it. So one of the things I've noticed about doing the Tele Track this year in 2022 compared to 2018 is that how different the tracks look. And I imagine that's a year after year case. The rains come through, they wash tracks out even more, and different routes need to be taken. Some of these tracks and crossings just look completely unrecognisable from when I did this back in 2018. And I guess that's some of the appeal of getting up here first of the season. It's like a new adventure. It's like a new adventure playground. So, you know, I can understand why you'd want to be here first.
The next crossing wasn't too difficult, but it was heaps of fun to photograph because it just looks so epic.
One of the most iconic crossings on the Old Tele Track is this wooden bridge here. We see all the Instagram photos of people travelling across it, but you know what? Kudos to the guys who put this together. They've used their own time and equipment to construct this bridge to make it safe and enjoyable for all of us to cross over. So thanks guys, appreciate it.
Having one of these vehicles sit on a log bridge in the middle of nowhere is amazing, let alone both vehicles. Obviously not at the same time, we weren't that cavalier. Cypress Crossing really is a cool feather to have in the cap for any serious off-roader.
I don't think I'm alone in being a little bit shaky there after seeing a couple of $100,000 worth of vehicles driving over some twigs held together with ratchet straps. Hearing them creak was a little but yeah, it looks far more sketchy than it is. These are held together really well, and it's yeah, it's a fun thing to do, so yeah, enjoy it when you get a chance.
The landscape of the OTT is so unique and something really worth witnessing firsthand. Four-wheel drive Disneyland is what I'd call it. 2 more crossings on the Old Telegraph track to go, but these were the deepest water crossings on the track, Logan's and Nolan's. But we had the big Superior lift and the big Maxxis Trepidor tyres, so we should be fine, but I was still super nervous. Coming up to Logan's is like stumbling across paradise. The water looked crystal clear, but also deep. We walked the line and made sure everything was safe. We also discussed proper procedure when crossing deep water, making sure to keep moving and keep a bow wave forming in front of the vehicles. Sam and Mitch both did a great job driving across both vehicles, and they took on very little water. I considered that they were on the other side of the river a great success.
When you go through there, you obviously want to keep a nice bow wave in front of the vehicle, which sort of ploughs the water out of the way and keeps the back pressure happening in the exhaust too. On the first vehicle we saw that really well. Second vehicle, Mitch is still learning, but it slowed down a little bit as it came across and he couldn't quite hear the engine, so he'll know for next time just to have a bit more pressure to get across there. It was safe, it was level, and you know, giving it a bit of jandle was probably the way to go. Ah, it's got a bit of water in it. It's a bit moist.
Logan's was such a beautiful spot, and if we'd had more time we could have spent the afternoon there, but we didn't, so we had to move on quickly. That of course left one real obstacle that stood between us and the Jardine River Ferry, Nolan's Brook.
We're on. We are on. Nolan's Brook.
Nolan's Crossing. Ready to go.
Here we go. How does my line look there?
Go a little bit. Yeah, it actually looks pretty good. Probably a little bit to your right.
We arrived at Nolan's at about 4 p.m, and after crossing through Logan's we knew it would be no issue, but we took as much precaution as possible so as not to make any mistake on the final turn.
Nolan's, it's infamous, and on this occasion not too hard at all. That was the water's low, it's a beautiful crossing, it's level, and yeah, it's really the last big one before you head on through to the tip. So we're pretty excited now, I have to say. Stoked actually. Okay, for those of you interested in doing the OTT, there's obviously a lot of things you need to do to prepare your vehicle. But if you own a V8 VDJ 76, 78 or 79, there's one mod that you must do before you tackle any of these muddy and high waterline tracks, and that is the alternator. Now the alternator in the position of stock in these vehicles is quite low, and that allows a lot of mud and water ingress to come in and affect the brushes, and they'll seize up. Now your big lift and your big tyres and all the other fancy bits on your vehicle aren't going to get you out of shit creek if you've got no alternator. So what you can do is you can get a rapid power, fully sealed, water cooled alternator, and it'll get you through and get you home, no dramas. We've got them in both of these vehicles and they are mint. First modification I'd make on either of these vehicles before you come to the Cape.
So the other thing you should really consider if you want to buy one of these vehicles is upgrading the handbrake. Now Superior Engineering do a handbrake upgrade. It's cheap and easy to install, and it will really save your butt.
And on to the Jardine River Ferry. Booyah!
The OTT was a real pleasure to complete in 2022 with hardly anyone on the track. We were not distracted by the usual peanut gallery giving us their opinion and mainly there to watch us fail. The weather and water levels in all the creeks had been ideal and super manageable. After crossing Nolans, it was a great chance for us to all reflect on the successful completion of all the difficult obstacles of the infamous OTT. But by the time we'd crossed and finished filming, it was 4:30 and there was a 40-minute drive to the Jardine River Ferry, so we hightailed it out of there. Both vehicles have been driven so well by the lads, and they've come through the OCR and the OTT with no more than a bit of a scrape on the rear bar of the torpedo. It was bound to happen at some point, but we were all so caught up in the excitement of finishing the track and missed the ferry turn off that doglegs west. We actually ended up at the old 4x4 crossing, which definitely wasn't the #1 option for us. As a result, we had to double back, which cost us about 40 minutes. So by the time we got to the ferry, we were 10 minutes past the 6 p.m. cut-off time, so we were forced to camp out the night and wait for the ferry in the morning. We all agreed that it wasn't an ideal situation, but we were tired and hungry and ready to have a camp anyway. We'd make our way to Punsan Bay tomorrow, no big deal. However, if we play our cards right, we still might make it to Pajinka tomorrow. Our strategy to take it slow and steady has paid dividends. Both vehicles are safe and sound, and so are we, so it doesn't matter that we didn't make the ferry. 10 minutes late though, Jesus.